All right, Jason Bateman is here. So the last time he was on, I hadn't seen Ozark yet, and I said I'm going to watch Ozark. The time will come. I didn't realize it was going to be a quarantine and a pandemic, but I'd been saving it for the right time. Dove in 30 episodes, which I think a lot of people did because it was trending on Netflix. The Ozark has
Only
a
the crystal meth heads like you that just could really hunker down for 30 hours.
well. When I told you I was watching it, you were worried that I was watching like five in a night, and I was like, no, 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 I've never do that. It was the most I ever watched was two. But is it weird that I miss the family now that they're out of my life? It's not a family I should miss, and yet I kind of miss everybody.
There is a little something admirable about the way in which they try to maintain some semblance of normalcy or traditional kind of, like they still have dinner together, and mom and dad kind of get on them about um, making sure they're doing their schoolwork and treating their friends right, and that kind of nonsense, which is obviously by design. Chris Mundy, our showrunner, head writer, he's very diligent in a great way about keeping that kind of banal kind of traditional domestic kind of skeleton going through this thing, so that when you put this sort of criminal flesh and muscle on it, it'll kind of pop, I suppose.
Did you feel like? I mean, you also had season three coming out right as all hell is breaking loose in the world. Did you feel like a lot of people picked up the show?
Yeah, for sure. And there's some semi-anecdotal, semi-unofficial data that says that people either heard about the show, that everyone was watching it, and so those who hadn't seen it before went back and started watching or season one and season two. So the Netflix numbers and the popularity of the show, we got a bunch of new viewers, which is great. There's a lot of really good work done by a lot of really good people that I'm happy people see, because you never know. You put in the same effort for stuff that stinks versus stuff that's good, stuff that's high budget versus low budget, wide release, small release. You never really know how many or who it's going to hit. And if you end up being proud of something, it's just gravy that it finds a big audience.
So the show was already successful. You did well at the Emmys, stuff like that. It's on Netflix. You never know how many people are
Right.
watching, things like that. It really does feel like season 3 was at another level because it comes out right as everybody's just home. And
really,
I
really
don't even
kind of
know what
lucky.
else people were gonna watch, right? It was like, who are you competing against for the eyeballs just that specific part of the month? It was like, all of a sudden, you guys are there, and it was like, "Here it is, season 3," and just everybody's in.
I think we were also drafting a bit off of Tiger King, because I think that came out a couple of weeks beforehand, and that was a juggernaut. And so when you're on the service, you might see a thumbnail for Ozark or
Good point.
something. So, but yeah, I was hooked on that, and I'm also
The Tiger King
not
was amazing.
oh, so good. Um, and I've still got 2 episodes left on Last Dance, which I'm excited about. I'm sure you've got a
Oh.
big opinion on.
Oh, yeah. I
Uh,
banged that one out. Yeah,
did you did you dig it?
oh, yeah. I
I mean,
mean,
that's part yours, yes, ish.
no, it's we when I was there, we were trying to get it done, but it took another 10 years. And,
But that's a distant cousin or first cousin of 30 for
30
30.
for 30? Yeah, it's like a younger half sister or a half brother.
It's
It's
so
like
rad that you did
different
that.
mom, same dad kinda thing, but it still feel like it's a relative, like close relative.
And I still feel like it's pretty gangster that you're so kind of
Oh,
like
you cut out. Wait, say
should
that part
know,
again because your
do
Wi-Fi
you
cut.
hear me?
Yeah, say it again.
Oh,
Say
I just think it's really cool that, like, the people who like should know do know, but many more should know that you're the father of 30 for 30. You just kind of you don't light your hair on fire about that. It's kind of a cool. It's like finding out somebody went to Harvard, but they didn't tell you.
Well, I mean, the amazing thing of it was how now I look back, and you know this because you've been out here for 40 years, and I look back at all the ways it could have not happened, and we're just hitting these little invisible points where it's like, "Oh, we passed that one. Oh, wow, we're getting this might ha" and now I look back, I'm like, "That was crazy that I had so much confidence this was gonna happen because it definitely shouldn't have happened. There should have
And
been."
it's timing too, right? I mean, it'd be interesting to look back and see with that first episode what the sort of the television landscape was at the time. Like, what was there? Was there a big hurricane where everyone was indoors like this with the virus? You know, that like because we definitely took, we're
Yeah.
very lucky that this thing came around when we were launching, and movies are like that too. You know, the right timing or terrible timing. I mean, I know some friends have had movies that just get wiped out because there's a big storm on the East Coast and no one goes to the movie theater, and boom, there's your opening weekend and you're done.
Yeah, it's funny, I think people think 30 for 30 was really successful right away, and it was the opposite because
Hmm.
they didn't really promote it, and the day we launched it was with this Wayne Gretzky documentary,
That Pete
and
Berg did, right?
yeah, and it was a Tuesday night, and it felt pretty open from a sports standpoint. NBA hadn't started yet. The only thing we had was this wild card baseball game going against it. It was like the Tigers versus the Twins. And we're like, all right, the only thing that would fuck us is if this game went into extra innings. And
Oh
of
no.
course, it's like a 5-hour game. It cuts right in, and
So
we're
it wasn't
going
an
head to head.
it was this is before ESPN had baseball?
It was on TBS.
Ah.
And we're going head to head against, and nobody's watching the doc, and we're like, hey, coming up 15 minutes. And meanwhile, it's like the bottom of the eighth in some wild card playoff game.
Would
So
have
it
been
took
great
a
if it was a
while.
lead in, right? If it was an ESPN game, it was a lead in, that would have been cool.
Oh my God. Well, so what turned the corner for us was we ran one after the Heisman. Connor
Ah.
was smart enough to grab this schedule spot after the Heisman. And I think it was either the U or Marcus Dupree. I can't remember which one, but it was the Heisman leading into 30 for 30. And that was our moment. That was when things started to flip.
And
But
it
up
happened
through
to be
then,
it was a college football episode. Yeah.
yeah. And that was it. So then we got all this drive-by traffic, and then we got momentum. But yeah, when we launched 30 for 30, I still have the email. I sent an email to every friend I had telling them this was coming, and really mad that ESPN wasn't promoting it more. It was like, they're not really promoting it, but we have this new series coming out. I'd really like if you could spread the word. I'm just sending this to
Those are
like
the
100
worst. Those
people.
emails are just like,
Oh my
oh.
God, it's embarrassing. Um, the other thing I want to go back to Ozark later, but the other thing that's happening is you've just made a lot of movies at this point, and they're just on all the time on either streaming
Sorry about
services,
that. Yeah.
cable. Couple. This whole Simmons family might have watched Couples Retreat about 3 weeks ago.
Oh man, that was about the
Solid.
best phone call I ever got. Was I think it was Vince Vaughn and Scott Stuber called me that they had this film, and it's going to take place in a resort, and it's just going to be us buddies. It was sort of like the Sandler mode,
Oh yeah.
and we picked a good spot to go, and we're casting all our friends, and your character, we named him Jason. Like, are you up for it? I'm like, well, where? What are we talking about? Where would we go? Well, it'd be set in Bora Bora, and your whole family, bring anybody you want, and you have your own house on these out over the water. We're gonna take the whole resort. We're gonna shoot it there and live there for a couple of months. Are you in? I mean, it was just like, what's the catch? It was unbelievable. And now that movie plays on a loop there. That's the St. Regis in Bora Bora. It's like it's got like its own channel or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
It was
Sandler
so fun.
recipe of let's make a movie while I'm also in an awesome location with my family. Because we watched it because when we were really stuck in the house before you could go anywhere, that first month, and we just started watching movies set in fun locations, like Just Go With It, the Sandler movie that's in Hawaii with Jennifer Aniston, and The
Uh-huh.
Descendants, Couples
Uh-huh.
Retreat, basically anything that was in the Caribbean or Bora Bora or Hawaii. We watched all the Hawaii movies, like anything, Blue Crush, just because it was like, oh, this is cool. We're in a different place. We're not stuck in our house, just kind of looking at each
So
other.
paint me this picture. So you can you hear me? You froze. There you go.
Yeah.
So paint me the picture. You are like you're making me look bad as a father. You're sitting down with your wife and your kids, and you're finding family friendly films to watch, and you sit there and marinate, and everyone's got their snacks and you're watching movies and giggling with one another?
Yeah, that's happening at our house.
Come
It's actually,
on.
yeah, I know. We're making everybody look bad.
Well, and then like after they all go to bed, do you go out and murder people? Like, what are you that great? Come on, Bill.
What else are we gonna do? We're all stuck together.
But you're not
We're gonna watch
slipping off
movies.
to your man cave and ignoring your children and your wife a little bit each day?
No, just during the day. Just during the day. We didn't watch there's lines we won't cross. Like we're not like, hey, to my 15-year-old daughter, hey, come watch season 3 of Ozark with us. Like that, like
She can
we're
watch
not.
that.
No,
No?
that's what I'm saying. No. No, she can't. What are you talking about? You can't watch Ozark.
Yeah, well, there's I think there's in the 3 years I think there's one scene that you can't show a kid until they're like
30?
no, I think 20 maybe. And it's when Wendy videotape on her iPhone the senator's husband that's got a prostitute in a hotel bed.
Yeah.
And she's got him tied up to the bed. Do you remember that scene?
That wasn't the scene I was thinking of.
Which one were you thinking of?
I mean, I don't want to spoiler alert this for I'm going to spoiler alert this for people who haven't seen
Like a
Ozark yet, but
killing?
no, there's a pivotal doggy style sex scene where like
right.
real plot is advanced that you're involved in.
That's true. That's true.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to watch with your 15-year-old daughter. Maybe that not on my list.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. And that was difficult to do as well.
So you have season 3, Laura Linney's character, her brother pops in.
Yes.
What's his name? Tom Pelphrey?
Tom Pelphrey, unreal, right? What a great actor.
You're casting that part. It's like, all right, bipolar brother. This is going to have to go a couple different ways. He's going to have to really go off the handle a couple times. We got to get this right because in the wrong hands, this will be bad.
Right.
What's the process of trying to find that guy? Or do you have that guy already and you're like, we got to figure out how to work him into Ozark? Like, how does that go?
No, we didn't have him already. We only had we had the season mapped out, but we didn't have the specifics of those scripts written in long form, except for the first couple that character was in. So while I never talked to Chris Mundy about this, my assumption is that he was watching what this actor was great at, what he was decent at, what he might be less comfortable with. And
so he's scouting him like a player almost?
I mean, I want to think so. Again, I never talked to him about this, and I'm just projecting the way I would probably do it. I mean, it is one of the advantages you have doing an episodic show. You can kind of calibrate what this character is going to be based on the strengths or weaknesses of the person that you've cast. Whereas with a feature, the script's written. You can't move that much. So I feel like that character got better as Chris discovered how incredible this actor was and what kind of taste he had. He could write him really unhinged and know that the guy wasn't going to be, making a bunch of faces and being disrespectful to people with that, or being stereotypical, or you know what I mean?
I thought he was awesome.
Yeah,
it was
really
one of those
good.
performances like when I'm sure he'll get nominated. When he doesn't win, I'll actually get angry. If he doesn't win, I'll be like, "What the fuck? This is a robbery. We can call the police."
Yeah,
but
I'm sure he's already really, really thrilled. He had a great time with us, and we're so bummed that he's gone now. But
not necessarily.
Yeah,
there's some stuff on the internets.
I was talking to Chris about that yesterday. Or we could do flashbacks, I mean, we have this problem with everybody. Again, sorry about the spoilers, but we have this problem with everybody that leaves the show is that we.
Oh, wait, you froze.
Cast.
Wait, start over. Start over with you froze.
God. We have this problem with everybody that we cast because the characters are already written and their storyline is already established, whether they live or they die. We just end up falling in love with these people and just dread the day that it comes where they're no longer going to be on the set again. It's tough.
Well, then you have the lady that plays Ruth, who's
Yeah,
also really good, and I saw her,
yeah,
she was in some on-demand movie, The
yeah.
Assistant.
Julia Garner. Yeah, the
I was like,
assistant.
"I'm
I have
in."
not.
I didn't even know what it was about. I'm like, "I'm in. Here's my
Uh,
money. Here's
I
six
haven't
ninety
seen it
nine,
yet. I
whatever
hear
it
it's
was."
fantastic, though. Is it great?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really, really interesting. I didn't love it, but I
Yeah.
really respected it because it goes for a specific type of storytelling thing that I thought I had just never seen before, exactly
Oh,
how they
cool.
did it. So I thought it was totally worth seeing.
Oh, okay. I'll
Um,
check that out.
it was presented on demand in a little bit different than what the movie is. It was one of those, it almost made
Little
it seem like it
bait and
was
switch.
more of a thriller,
Yeah.
but yeah, it
And
was
it's a
good.
little bit more sort of ethereal and
It's indescribable. It's
okay.
worth seeing though. Yeah, I do recommend it.
Okay.
So but you were doing Ozark, but then you were also doing the HBO show too.
Yeah, The Outsider. I was trying to do both of those at the same time. Just started Outsider a little bit earlier, and the goal, the challenge, was to oversee both of them. The people who produce Ozark, MRC, they brought me the Outsider, and they said, do you think you can do two? Would you like to try? I said, yeah, please. That would be a great challenge. And so I directed the first two, and executive produced. The show, kind of oversaw it, and of course put the whole crew together and the cast together. And but I brought in Andrew Bernstein, who is a guy who directed some episodes of Ozark, to be our producing director, to really kind of be the guy boots on the ground while I'm left and went over and did Ozark. We shot them on stages that were really only about I don't know, a quarter mile away from one another in Atlanta, so I could pop back and forth. But the reality is that I couldn't really go back and forth. So, that I can't take any credit for or anything that people loved after those first two episodes. That was all them, and it got a really nice response. And I'm super proud of the tone that we hit. I wanted it to be a little bit more of like the Stephen King Shining, as opposed to Stephen King, let's say, one of his more sort of pulpy versions, which are equally good and equally tough to do. They're just sort of different tonally, and I don't watch a lot of gore, a lot of jump scares, but that kind of moody, off-putting, unsettling kind of tone of The Shining or something, I tried to put into Outsider, and just had great crew help me do that.
You know what movies like that I was just randomly watching last night was The Thing, John
Yeah,
Carpenter.
yeah, that was a
Same
great
kind of
movie.
vibe where you're just like, I'm really uncomfortable and I'm not even positive why.
Right. Yeah. Kurt Russell, was he the
Kurt
lead in that?
Russell.
Yeah.
And
And
and a
then
lot of those guys, like a lot, like
yeah,
7 or 8 of those guys.
didn't they do it? They did a remake of that, did they not? A few years ago. I feel
Yeah,
like
and the
they may have.
original, as usual with this, the original is better.
Yeah.
The
I think
original is good.
there was one even before John Carpenter. I think there was like an
Yeah.
old black and white one, original. OG, I think the kids are saying, Bill.
Oh, gee.
Mhm.
How are you picking your projects these days?
Um, I mean, the whole sort of picking projects, I think, is a little bit more overstated than what is the reality for most. I think there's probably two or three actors or actresses that really get to pick. That there's genuine conflict. There's
Right.
too many great opportunities. How do I do them all? Most of us are just happy to just be asked, and yes, please, we'll do it. um, but if there is anything that ends up being a scheduling conflict, the thing that wins out is usually the project that's got the best people that are involved, regardless of how much work I have to do on it, whether it's an acting role that's up high on the call sheet or down low, or if it's something that I would direct. It's really about the people that are involved with it, because that'll let you know kind of what experience you're going to have with it, because you're there a long time. You end up a lot of your you still there?
Yeah, you froze.
Hello,
Go ahead.
hello,
You're
hello,
good. Yeah,
hello, hello. There you are.
you're
Hey,
back.
did you get all that? So it's just that. It's about the people.
Do you feel like I'm skewed too much more toward drama the last couple years? I need to work in something a little lighter?
Yeah, that's mostly a directorial thing. I'm just drawn to, for the most part, comedies don't have as much of a demand on the other departments. I'm probably being unfair with that, but dramatic projects, it's more appropriate, I think, for you to dive deeper into the other departments in a drama as opposed to a comedy. Like, you can overshoot a comedy, you can overscore a comedy, you can over edit a comedy. Like, um, so dramas, you can build a mood and a whole look and a whole feel, whereas comedy, uh, if you move too far away from, you would ideally like to have your audience with a constant grin on their face, so they don't have that far to travel to get to a laugh.
Yeah.
And there's by maintaining that grin, there's certain things that you shouldn't do, and that kind of, for me at least right now, eliminate some of the stuff I like to do as a director. But that's probably my naivete. I probably, if I got into directing more comedies, I'd probably see that there's plenty of places for me to play with in with lighting and with camera and with music and editorial rhythms and all that kind of stuff. I should do some more comedy as a director, but right now I'm digging the challenge with the drama stuff.
So you're thinking you're almost more of a director than an actor where your brain is right now.
Well, after a bunch of years being on a set, you absorb a lot of what people are doing, and to have the privilege of the job where your responsibility is to actually provide guidance and yeah, direction or a plan, for that process. uh, that's a lot of responsibility and demands that you have paid attention and absorbed all these things that you've been observing. So I've always wanted to challenge myself to see what have I soaked up enough to really warrant that responsibility and that leadership, that position. So it's been a challenge that I've really enjoyed kind of taking on, and it's a more complicated, more kind of holistic process as an actor. It's not to take anything away from actors, but an actor truly works about 15 minutes an hour. They're in their dressing room and waiting for the crew and the director to set up the shot. A lot of movie making is going on while we're in our trailers watching Judge Judy.
Right.
And then they knock on your door, they say we're ready for you, and you come out and you hit your mark and you talk. Yeah, it's more complicated than that, but I just I like being with the crew and setting up the shot, and then bringing in the actor, and then you're still working while the actor's working because you're watching and you're taking notes and you're trying to figure out how the next take could be better. Now, if I'm also acting in it, now I'm fully submerged. I'm working 60 minutes an hour and a real masochist menu there.
That doesn't sound fun. I've never understood how people direct and act at the same time. It's almost like if somebody was a player coach in the NBA or
Yeah.
something. Like if LeBron was just like, I'm going to run the Lakers too and run the offense.
Well, but if the to go with that analogy, acting's always been really, really comfortable for me. It seems like playing basketball and shooting the ball and is really comfortable for LeBron. So strategy and play design and tempo and all of that stuff that a coach might chime in on would probably be more efficiently and surgically executed if you're on the floor. I mean, if Jackson
Yeah.
was on the floor and he had the ball, literally had the ball, he'd be able to, in real time, adjust things, pivot, literally. Where with acting and directing, I can give an actor a note while we're in the scene together, or I can wait until somebody on the crew is done doing what they need to do, like a camera getting into position before I say my line. Things that I can observe because the acting is so comfortable for me. I'm able to watching actors helping technical.
Cut out. You think you left off on
Could you hear
things I
me?
can absorb. Yeah. And then it cut out.
Yeah, since I'm so comfortable with the acting, I'm able to absorb, the performance of the other actor and also be able to help out with all the technical stuff that's going on in real time while we are acting, because there's all kinds of things that are going on behind the camera that the crew is doing, that as an actor, if you're aware of those things, you can really help make them work kind of like a Swiss watch. The timing, you hear these stories about how Fincher is really specific about the composition of the shot and making sure that, the shadow comes across the background just at the right time before the actor reveals the glass that's chipped, or like there's this dance that goes on, and if you're aware of that as an actor, you can really help make that happen on take 3 instead of take 8, if you're a good soldier.
Do you have to trust somebody on the set to give you notes on your acting since you're the director and you can't give notes to yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I don't officially deputize anybody, but I hope that I create an atmosphere on the set where, if I really go sideways, someone's gonna say, "Buddy, that sucked. You got to do another one," or "You can do better," or
Right.
but truly, you can tell. Like LeBron can tell if he misses a shot really badly, or if he's running too slow, or I can tell if a take was no good, and we'll just do another one right away. And then when it feels like that was pretty good, then we've got this video playback where I can go back and we just rewind it and look at it and confirm whether it was good or not.
What was the first thing you directed just in life?
There was an episode of the Hogan Family when I was 18. This sitcom that I did
Wow.
with Valerie Harper and then Sandy
Come on.
Duncan.
Who are you talking to? You don't have to explain the Hogan Family to me.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was 3 years into the run there, I think, something like that. So I was, very close with the cast and the crew, and they helped me out quite a bit.
Did you we just did a Back to the Future Rewatchables podcast that had this whole backstory of how Eric Stoltz was Marty McFly for 5 weeks, and then they basically fired him because Michael
Oh,
J.
that's
Fox,
right.
that opened up and the whole thing. Did you audition for that? That was right in your like wheelhouse kind of age range where they must have auditioned every actor for that.
Right. No, I don't think that I did, but I do remember. My sister was doing Family Ties, of course, with Michael J. Fox, and I remember because like I'd finish work on, I don't know what I was doing. I think maybe It's Your Move or something at the time, and my mom or my dad was my set sitter, my guardian, my person over 18 with me, and then we would finish. My hours would be shorter because I was younger than Justine, so. I remember we would drive from Universal, where we were shooting that, over to Paramount, where Justine was shooting her show. And I remember kind of watching them deal with how Michael J. Fox wasn't there because he was still shooting, or they needed to get him out early so we could go shoot, because he was doing it at the same time. And I remember thinking, God, this guy's got it. I mean, he's the funniest guy in the world. He's the head of this show. He's doing a Steven Spielberg, produced movie, and like, it was pretty cool. And he's such a nice guy. I was
Well,
thrilled for him.
initially, so all I didn't know a lot of it till we did the research, but they wouldn't let him out of the contract, or they wouldn't let him additionally do it plus Family Ties because Meredith Baxter Birney was pregnant, and all of the episodes were revolving around Michael J. Fox, so they literally couldn't spare him. So they do the Eric
it was
Stoltz thing,
a lot
and
of
then that
weekend
falls
work.
through. Then she's back on the show, so they can kind of spare him, and he's leaving at 6:00 and doing Back to the Future till 2:30 in the morning, and then going back to Family Ties, and he's just doing that for 8 weeks, which seems
Had
bonkers.
some stamina. Yeah, we
Yeah,
all
we were
did
saying
it.
like
What was it, 20?
we were saying 1985, that movie comes out. It's the biggest movie of the year. It makes $200 million, and 500 million
Wow.
worldwide, whatever it was. And he's also on Family Ties. He's got
Yeah,
one of the 4 biggest shows, and he has the biggest movie of the year that's about to shoot 2 sequels after that. It's like Michael J. Fox had it going. Had it going there for a
you're
while.
doing okay.
Yeah, because the other thing with
Yeah.
that show, and it's weird why some shows have the legs even into 2020, right? Like I still feel like Seinfeld has legs. Cheers has kind of lost
Yeah.
its legs. I don't feel like anyone under 30, Cheers is really on the radar for them. And then Family Ties is just off the radar. And I always felt like the three biggest sitcoms of the 80s were Cheers, Cosby, Family Ties, kind of in that
Um,
order.
yeah, but it's probably Mad About You as well. And there were a few. I mean,
That was
look, that
90s.
was, oh yeah. Yeah, sitcoms were just enormous. And I mean, do you miss those? I miss them a lot. I think that that's a format that everybody would still love to enjoy. In fact, they do. I mean, Chuck Lorre, I mean, those are huge hits, those shows. But why there can't be as many as there were back then, I don't know. I mean, they went through a period where they weren't cool, I guess, and people kind of moved off of them, and single camera comedies came around, like Wonder Years kind of started that role, Malcolm in the Middle, and things like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like we should be able to go back to it in some form, or maybe a hybrid of it, like the Larry Sanders Show. Or I've been trying to crack it for a while, and
Yeah, it
maybe
seems
one
like
day. But
there's two different lanes, right? Where you have a big chunk of America watching shows like Young Sheldon and things
yeah,
like that, where it's just like way more people than you'd ever think. And then you have like in the New York, LA kind of cities, they're
right.
just
Where
gravitating toward this really smart single camera shows or the stuff that's on cable, but wouldn't
right,
necessarily
but you can,
watch Chuck Lorre
yeah,
shows.
but you can have. I mean, I think today's sitcom would be. Uh, would be edgier, more sophisticated, more subversive, like a Seinfeld. I don't think it would be as sort of earnest and populist as, say, the Cosby Show or Family Ties. Although Family Ties is pretty highbrow at times, but there is something kind of in on the joke about Seinfeld's humor that I think feels a little bit more current. That I think
Yeah.
if it was to have a resurgence, it would need to have that. I think comedy's changed a bit.
We've been watching Seinfeld with my son. He's been getting into it a little bit. He was like 12 and a half. It's still funny. I mean,
Yeah.
some of it's dated, like the clothes are terribly dated. They don't have cell phones, things like that. But the actual concepts of the show are pretty good. But I think for that generation, the under 20, it seems like the more recent shows like The Office and Parks and Rec, that kind of style is the kind of comedy, half-hour comedy they're used to. So the
Yeah.
Family Ties type show just isn't a style that people do anymore. But I think
Right.
you're
But
right. I feel like it could come back.
yeah, because it's more performance than acting. All right. I mean, you've got the audience, so you literally do hear the audience laughing. So there's a bit of a shared wink with the audience at home that you are putting on a show. You are putting on a performance. There is a proscenium there. It is basically like a filmed play, and so the style of it is, set up joke, set up joke, and as opposed to, when you mentioned Office or Parks and Rec or things like that, it is single camera. There is no laugh track, and you can get into a close up, and jokes are revealed through watching people think, or a camera reveal or something like that. It is a different flavor of comedy, and I think people would enjoy the other as well. They just needs to be they need to be exposed to it, because it is a new generation that really hasn't seen a lot of it, except for Chuck shows.
I have an idea.
Yep.
So season 4 Ozark, Marty gets knocked unconscious.
Yeah.
As he's unconscious, whole half-hour dream sequence where Marty's family is just an 80s sitcom. I think that's what happens. Then you
So
get to
he
test
comes.
it out.
It starts by he gets woken up from his unconsciousness by just roaring laughter. A sort
By
of
studio audience.
a warm up guy is doing his bits, and it shakes him awake, and he turns around, looks around. You're in Marty's point of view. Turns around, sees this whole studio. He's sort of like, and then he turns around and he sees Wendy's there, like loading a gun. I think you're onto it. Do I have to cut you in on that now?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's like season 7. Maybe it's like when it's at the end of the line, when you're dragging Ozark along, just trying to get to. You don't even need to get to syndication. You're already syndicated.
Are we? Does that
I
even
don't.
exist anymore?
No, it doesn't. You're already cashed in, right? Like it's already syndicated on Netflix the moment you can binge it. It's weird.
Netflix does not pay you in money. They just give you free subscriptions to hand out to your family and
Just
free
hundreds of
months.
subscriptions.
You get free months.
Can you tell me about? Is there a season 4 plan? I mean,
There,
obviously nothing can get shot right now, but once things become normal again, is there a plan of action?
there has been no announcement, but we're all feeling hopeful and confident. The season 3 was as we've been talking about, was really well received. But Netflix has their rhythm and their data and their process, and we're all kind of anticipating some good news, but we haven't gotten it yet.
I need more from Marty in season 4. Too many picks. Too many picks. Too many
When
screens.
it was
He said too
great
many
to see.
screens.
It was great to it was great to see Wendy sort of the Marty kind of dropped them into this problem, right, in season 1, and then in season 2 they kind of got their legs under them as a family, and then season 3 Wendy kind of took the initiative, and season 4 I don't know, but it would be interesting to see. Marty's got to kind of shit or get off the pot. He's either got to get with her or turn against her and start wearing a wire, right? I mean, get her out of his way so that he can take his kids back to Chicago and live a normal life again, or double down with her, and now they become kind of a double-barreled shotgun, and we kind of steam towards some kind of a crescendo. When, I don't know, but it there was sort of a Marty kind of assessing things in season 3 and waiting to see what the fallout was going to be from Wendy's initiative. And I think he's going to be forced into be a little bit more proactive instead of reactive this next season.
Maybe he convinces the leader of the cartel to buy the Dodgers.
God,
Then
that
you
would
could shoot some Dodger Stadium stuff.
that'd be
Season
pretty
5.
good, man. But although I really don't have any complaints with our Dodger ownership right now, and I empathize with them too. This is going to be a great, nice, smooth transition into sports, Bill. But that Mookie Betts situation is just a total heartbreak, and expensive. But fortunately, I'm not writing the check.
Well, it devastated me and many other Red Sox fans because we love Mookie Betts. If there was another team he was going to go to, I was happy it was Los Angeles because
Out
I
of the
could go
American
see him
League.
play.
Yeah.
He's just absolutely fantastic. He's honestly one of the best Red Sox players of my lifetime. And I think he would have crushed it for you. I think you keep him though. From everything I've heard, he
So
wants to be in a big city.
it's a 1-year deal, right?
Yeah, but I think he resigns. I don't think he leaves. I think you end up with him. But who knows? Like
But why?
I'm so nervous about baseball even coming back because you have the players and the owners are just cats and dogs. No matter what the
So
situation is, they fight.
why was it just a 1-year deal with Mookie? Did they just pick up the
They
last
picked it up.
year?
Yeah. He had 1 year
Okay.
left. The Red Sox were trying to sign him to a big extension. He wouldn't sign with them because I honestly don't think he wanted to stay. And instead of rolling the dice with the last year, they just decided to trade him.
And then why would he not demand that whatever team signs him commits to a long-term deal as opposed to the non-surprise of whatever the ass end of his deal is with Boston? Why would he let somebody just kind of take a look at him for a year and then decide later?
Because I think it's a bet on himself type thing.
So basically, if he really performs for the Dodgers, then when he signs that long-term deal, he can sign it for a bigger number. But didn't he have a great year last year for Boston?
He has a great year every year. And he'll have a great year for the Dodgers. Like we had Dave Roberts on the podcast we do with Pete Carroll and Steve Kerr, and he's like delighted. Mookie Betts is unbelievable. He's going to be awesome. He bet on himself, much like when a lot of people don't know this, when you did Ozark, you did a deal for season 1, but the deal was if this does well, I get 25% of Netflix. And I mean, now look at you. You've been Netflix
God,
minority owner. It's not a lot of publicity about this.
I'll tell you what, I really wish I would have taken my salary in Netflix stock
You
on
should have.
when we did Arrested Development, because that was their first year. It was right on the heels of House of Cards, so it was their
Right.
first year or second year of original programming, and uh, just not that it was an offer, to you can have money or you can have stock, but I
You
wonder
could
what
have
they would have.
asked.
I wonder what they would have said if I said, "Listen, I'll take $1 a week or whatever SAG minimum is. But I want the rest in stock." Oh, could
I'm
you
sure they would
imagine?
have done that. Yeah, that Arrested Development season is an underrated checkpoint for Netflix because everyone points to House of Cards. I've told this story in this podcast, but they bought 30 for 30 from us in 2012, and we thought it was hilarious because we'd already done all the 30 for 30s. It was finished. It was like having leftovers for dinner and then somebody being like, "I'll give you full price for your leftovers." I'm like, "Great, here, take them. This is awesome." And so they paid for all these. It was a lot of money. I can't remember what it was, but it was a lot. And we were like, "This is crazy. What are they doing? These
You
guys are
want to start?
idiots."
You want to start talking about Bill Simmons making a lot of money right now? Should we whip out last week's paper or last month's paper or something?
Nah, it's
Good
fine.
Lord,
It's fine.
good for you.
Thank you. I
If
appreciate
you
it.
guys could see Bill right now, he's just dripping in jewelry. It's just there's gold ropes all over the place.
It's a great company. It's much like Netflix. They have their
What's
shit
that?
together.
Yeah,
Spotify. They have
Spotify. Yeah,
they have their shit together in a whole bunch of awesome ways. We'll talk.
spoken like a man with a new deal. Good for you.
So what are you doing during this quarantine other than hanging out with your family? You're working on a
Um,
possible podcast that you haven't announced yet.
correct.
What else?
I am doing. I'm doing next to nothing. I'm being respectful to the people that are working very, very hard, and asking me to do my part, which is, stay the hell out of their way and stay home and try to squash the curve or whatever the hell it is. So that's not a big ask, right? I mean, stay in your house is easy work for a lot of folks. The helping the kids out with school is trying, but again, champagne problems. I am watching MSNBC 24/7 and reading the paper and just following this incredible, like, social, political, economical, medical, tidal wave. I find it just endlessly fascinating. Not in sort of a Schadenfreude kind of or disaster voyeur type of way, but it just truly fascinated at all of the implications, and the consequences that this is. I'm really curious to see how we're all going to respond to it, considering we don't have a real great brain trust with their hands on their wheel right now. So it's just every day I'm fascinated to see how we're clogging holes.
Does your wife like you more or less than she did 3 months ago?
That's a great question. I'm pretty sure it's less.
I'm weighing in as less. I'm in the
Yeah,
less camp. I haven't met a lot of people in the more camp.
yeah. She the humor used to work because it was only kind of in the morning and at night, and now she's got to deal with my bits all day. I'm not that. I don't have a deep well.
There's an
Um,
overexposure problem.
yeah, exactly. She's getting tired of watching me walk around in my pajamas. I mean, I literally I've not worn anything other than pajamas for 8 weeks, and slippers. So she's tired of hearing those things flack all over the house.
Oh, you cut out.
I'm life. You there?
Yeah,
Oh,
say that last part again.
hello.
You
I'm
said
back. I'm I'm living a very, very boring life, but I say that in the best way. I am not complaining whatsoever.
I've been jogging pants and shorts for
When you
10
say
weeks
jogging
now.
pants, is that weirdo for sweatpants?
Yeah. We say
What's wrong with you?
East Coast, East Coast, we say jogging pants. I'm sorry.
Are you
Sweatpants is
sure?
West Coast.
I'd
Yeah.
love a call in on that. I don't think you're going to get a lot of backing on jogging pants. Jogging pants sounds like a Lululemon special.
Jogging pants, sweatpants,
Stop saying it.
sweatpants.
No, stop saying jogging pants. You say sweatpants.
Well, I'm wearing those. Either.
Have you ever pulled off tearaway like the basketball players?
No, I've always wanted to though.
Me too. I don't know how does it work. Is there so in the crotch? I guess is where it is fixed, right?
It's basically shorts with like legs zipped next to it. That when you tear it off, the legs just come off. Basically, like 2/3 of the way around your leg.
Right, but isn't it like buttons or snaps all the way down the outside of each leg? Isn't that the way it works?
Yeah, what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
so you
feel
want
like,
those?
I feel like it'd take me 4 or 5 pulls to get them all the way off. It's like the 3-year-old is trying to blow out a birthday cake. They just never make it. I feel I wouldn't be able to do the cool one pull, let's do this thing.
Well, I've been watching a lot of old sports because I'm just like in, withdrawal. And there's that whole tearaway jersey NFL era that we grew up with like Earl Campbell, where they would go to tackle him and his whole jersey would disintegrate. I don't know. It was 2 years and gone. I don't know what they were thinking, but they must have been like 50 Earl Campbell jerseys a game that they just ran through with this weird rule.
I once did a terrible football movie called Necessary Roughness.
Hey, first of all, how dare you? You just hurt so many feelings by calling that movie terrible. There's a lot of love for that movie out there.
I say terrible with love. There was kitsch in it by design. I think no one was. They didn't release this in the fourth quarter. Let's say that. So anyway, you say Earl Campbell, and I'll never forget. There was a sequence in the film where all these my team, this college team, played against these convicts. These prisoners, they had their football team, and I guess the studio thought it'd be fun if they cast all the convicts as these pro football stars. So it was Earl Campbell. It was like Ed Too Tall Jones and Jim Kelly, and they even had Herschel Walker was there. What was the name of the boxer that Mike Tyson bit his ear off?
Oh, Evander Holyfield.
Yeah, he was in it. Anyway, I'll never forget taking a leak in the men's locker room of this old, small junior university or whatever we were shooting at, next to Earl Campbell, and it was one of those long troughs where there's no hiding.
Peas splattering everywhere.
Well, I don't remember that, but I remember taking an ill-advised look to my right and down, Mr. Campbell, and just never really felt closer to being a eunuch, a boy. Just good for him. Just so impressive. And
that's why he always had great balance.
Incredible balance. It's like when you try to push over a 3-legged stool, you can't do it.
Right.
They're going to stay up in high winds all day. So
but Necessary Roughness, Scott Bakula is the 40-year-old QB. Kathy Ireland, female field goal kicker, supermodel.
Place kicker that could just, it was, and Sinbad. Sinbad, I think, was our tight end.
Height of Sinbad. He's never been hotter.
No, he was
mid-90s.
He was flying real high. I was not.
I forget what position. What was your role in that movie? I forget. I haven't seen it in a while. You froze. Wait, answer that again because you froze.
I was a
Yeah, you're back.
I was a tailback and I was a weak safety. And I was so afraid. My mother's British, so she wanted me to play soccer my whole life as a kid. Never let me play football. So I'd never, I still haven't, except for that movie, tackled anyone. And I was petrified then. I'm petrified now of, like, what do you do with your head when you tackle someone? You know, you got
Right.
your helmet and you got your shoulder pads. It seems like, all good. But I just felt like if my head hits somebody, it's going to jam my spine. It's going to jam my neck. So what do you do? So I worked at this thing where I just would shrug my shoulders really high and leave them there so that my helmet would drop down into the cavity of the shoulder pads. And I thought to myself, well, that'll lock it in. That'll make it so that I don't get my neck broken when I tackle somebody. I remember the stunt coordinator just taking me aside and saying, son, have you ever played football? And I said, no, but we got a stunt double for me, right? And he said, yeah, let's just bring him in. I said, great. I'll be over on the sideline and running my lines. Yeah.
But now you're too old. You're out of the sports movie range.
Yeah, way
Now
too
you're
old.
playing GMs, you're GMs, owners, and coaches. That you're in that point of your life.
Yeah, or place kicker. I could be
Scout.
Kathy. I could take
Scout.
Kathy Ireland's part. Yeah.
Oh,
Or
yeah, I guess
scout.
old place kicker. Yeah, you age out. Even Costner, when I had Costner on last year because he had done draft day like 5 years ago. He's the GM, but
Yeah.
he'd been a cyclist. He'd been in 3 baseball movies. You know the whole thing, and it's about mid-40s. If it doesn't happen by then, it's just
Do you think?
you run out
Do
of
you
time.
think a couple of people have brought me baseball movies, and I just keep thinking you just can't do another baseball movie because I
Why?
just feel like they're inherently soft, and great ones have already been done. So why not leave it alone? And another person brought me the idea of remaking Slapshot the other day, and that just sort of, I thought, well, that's kind of sacrilege. Like, you wouldn't want to touch that. What's your feeling on both those?
I mean, Slapshot's iconic. I just think people would actively root against a remake because it's such a
Exactly.
beloved movie. But baseball, I think baseball and boxing just seems like you could always make those. How many boxing movies have there been at this point? A cajillion? And they
Yeah,
still come
yeah,
out
that's
with
true.
those.
What
The
about Bad News Bears? Could redo Bad News Bears, couldn't you?
So Billy Bob did that in 2004 with Richard Linklater, and it wasn't good. And it was one
No?
of those things where it's like, oh, this will be good. And the problem is the original one that we grew up with is completely politically incorrect, which is one of the reasons it was so
Oh, right.
funny.
Right.
You
Yeah, with
can't do
Walter
that now.
Matthau saying a bunch of nasty things.
Well,
But
Tanner, it was Tanner the shortstop was like a racist, but it was hilarious in 1976. And you can't yeah, that's not gonna fly. So when they did it in '04, it was like you could tell the focus groups had been brought in to figure out what the composition of the team was. And it's just like,
oh, they just softened it up.
yeah. I do think though, so here's one. I'll give you another one because I already gave you an entire Ozark episode. Um, I do think there is a youth sports parents black comedy movie is sitting there as somebody who's been on a lot of soccer sidelines over the last 8 years. There is some sort of parent idea.
Will Ferrell did a good one that
But
Noah
that
Baumbach.
was like a comedy though. I'm
Right.
saying like there's a deeper dive to be made that
Right. Something with some dirt under its nails. It's not
yeah.
necessarily for kids, but kids are in it.
It's almost like Little Miss Sunshine crossed with youth sports, kind of that kind of vibe. Like a really
Right.
well done. You're diving into it. Like, why do these people care so much? These are 8-year-olds.
Yeah, moms and dads really getting after these coaches for their kids' playing time. Some
All that shit.
sabotage and
Yeah.
some.
Because you think like millions of people are in youth sports, and yet there's the only youth sports movie any of us could rattle off is that Will Ferrell movie, which was like a slapstick comedy.
What was the one? What was the one about Nancy Kerrigan and that was last year?
I, Tanya.
Yeah, it's
That had
something.
a lot of
Something in
dirt
that.
under the nails.
Right, something in that tone. Right. Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's almost too dark.
Can't get too dark.
Yeah,
Can't
you
get
see,
too dark.
you've been in the Ozark too long.
Right, but I mean, you can't, especially in a comedy, because you can always win it back. You get somebody laughing, and then they're like,
True.
"Well, it is funny."
It's true. It's true.
Stop.
You cut out again. Your Wi-Fi cuts out like every 3.5 minutes.
Cut out again.
No, it's good. You're good now.
Well, I got 2 kids in school inside doing Zoom, so that's probably the problem. Yeah.
I got
Sorry about that.
No, that it's happened with at least half the people we've had. We had to get boosters for some of our people because, everybody's using more Wi-Fi now. So like these Zooms, it'll be going great, and then all of a sudden it's just gone.
Yeah, and Netflix even offered to reduce their hold over bandwidth, right, during this pandemic, so that the public had more access to the pipe. True?
Yeah, they were like, we're not going to reduce our Tiger King bandwidth or Ozark season 3, but
still need
we'll
high
back
quality.
off.
Yeah,
we'll back off on everything else. This was fun. So I'm going to do your secret project you're working on, podcast wise. So it's a home and home for us.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. Good seeing you. Thanks for doing this.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Take care, man.
Good seeing you.